two nice, generous introductions, so I have no choice now but to proceed. One less off, I guess. Let me take you back to another time. Golden age, 1989. I'm talking about a body of work. I want to talk about some circumstances that surround that body of work and formed me, and that might explain why it took the shape that it finally did. 1989 was the sesquicentennial of the invention of photography, and it was celebrated by most major museums in most cities and countries, enormous historical photographic exhibitions, each one less interesting than the last. They then filled out the year by trading exhibitions among themselves. But it raised serious questions because photography was in a crisis then, and probably a crisis. Art practice is always in crisis, but a somewhat more severe crisis. I mean, you talk about the crisis of representation. What is the value of representation? What does representation mean? It's like in 1989, everyone decided that they would finally become aware of what Walter Benjamin was saying. Probably some people here would say that it was also under attack from the emergence of digital media. Although I don't think so. I think photography was dying its own natural death. I don't think it was finished off by the digital, but that didn't help either. And of course, as someone who was at that point still in the trenches, I was thinking about how does one proceed in this practice? I mean, what can we do with photography? What is it? And it's a question I ask myself, not remarkably. I think everyone who works in the medium is constantly asking himself, what is this medium? What is exclusive to it? What's possible for it? And of course, systems very often, systems and structures reveal the most about themselves at some point where they're about to break. Failure point. I was thinking of things of how exactly does photography fail to convey information? What kind of information is excluded from photography? How important is it? Okay, we've set one scene for this. This is exactly the kind of thing I was hoping to avoid. I'm sorry we spilled the tray of slides. There we are. Isn't that better now? What else is happening in the late 1980s? The Channel Tunnel, Trans-Manche Tunnel, is well underway, and in fact is just about to be joined. France and England are going to have a new international border for the first time ever. This event was met with a great deal of what I would think kind of canny cynicism by the English, who just thought it was another economic rip-off and wouldn't help them a damn bit. On the other side of the channel, Nord-Pas-de-Calais, there's a very, very different attitude for certain good reasons. I mean, Nord-Pas-de-Calais has been deindustrializing since the 60s. It has structural unemployment of 28%. It had once been a key region in the European coal and steel manufacturing, but in fact there's only one steel mill remains in Nord-Pas-de-Calais. It's a steel mill that smelts steel from other steel mills they've torn down. It's a Usinophage. It's almost a Buckminster Fuller idea, where France has this above-ground reserve of steel. Anyway, so a little irrational optimism was given the Trans-Manche Tunnel project, and in a way that's kind of quite typical of the French bureaucracy, is that this was to be celebrated culturally. So I had a certain idea that I presented to a small cultural institution in Nord-Pas-de-Calais, who were very generous and very receptive to the idea. They'd been funding a number of proposals about the Trans-Manche. These proposals ended up in a 35-page book. We've done quite a few things. And it was a rather successful project. The projects, I can't remember all of them, so maybe it wasn't that successful, but projects like what it would be, a last memory of what it would be like today to make that cross the train-boat train. Or they told me that about once a week they got a project proposal, some sort of half-baked conceptual artist said, I'm going to walk through the Transatlantic Tunnel and make a photograph every 100 meters, whatever. My project was couched in terms that I wanted to examine high technology that would impact the Nord-Pas-de-Calais region in the next 30 years, which is, it's a fairly broad mandate. And they agreed to this. And what their agreement meant was that for really the next year and a half, I was given access to any number of sites. The way this worked was it was fairly simple. France, as you probably know, is still a monarchy. It's always has been. Every decision of importance in France is made at the center. The decision to decentralize was made at the center. From the center, various tentacles of power go out and come back in, and this little institution had direct link through funding to the Ministry of Culture, which is an extremely important ministry in France. That ministry has other ministerial level contacts to ministries of transport, of economic development, of the organization of the territory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in the end, I was theoretically given access to work in any company that was owned in part or all by the state, or companies like Matra that were doing business with the state and wanted to stay on good terms with the state. So I went most everywhere in France. The National Railroads Office, the Air France, Matra, La Redoute. I was interested in photographing the physical environment, not computers and technology per se, which I neither understand nor have any particular interest in understanding. But I was increasingly fascinated by the epiphenomena that surrounded them and how they transform people's lives, how people perceive their transform people's lives.